On this episode of Locked On Angels, all the good vibes doesn't wipe away a bad weekend against the Chicago White Sox. The Halos lose 2 of 3. They salvaged that Sunday game. And John and I have takeaways from each of those games. We're going to tell you all about it today. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. One of the best ways to get in touch with John and I and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use our promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today.
Happy Monday to you. Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we're here talking Angels baseball with you Monday through Friday, every single weekday, 5 days a week. On today's show, we're going to give you our takeaways from the weekend, everything you need to know from this Angels-White Sox series, where the Angels dropped the first 2 games, were able to salvage the series on Sunday thanks to a great comeback, down 5-0. Zach Neto part of that. Taylor Ward obviously part of that. So we'll give you all the takeaways from the weekend. Mike, let's start with Friday night, where the Angels lost 6-3.
Yeah, first takeaway, Johnny. Halos just really struggled with the bases loaded. They loaded the bases in the first inning, and they didn't score. Neto gets picked off at third base for the first out. Joe Adell strikes out for the second out, and then O'Hoppe grounds out for the third out. Now, this was a really bad inning for White Sox pitcher Shane Smith. He threw 35 pitches in that inning, just 15 strikes. He had 3 walks, and he got out of it without any damage. Angels loaded the bases for the second time in the bottom of the 7th inning, and they did score this time. Zach Neto hit a sacrifice fly.
They did score.
Yeah.
Question mark, yeah.
But then Nolan Shawnuel singles, and Travis d'Arnaud was on base, and so was Gustavo Campero. And Shawnuel hits a ball. It would have tied the game, and Travis d'Arnaud would have scored, but Campero went first to third, and he got tagged out running into third. And it was before the runner scored at home. That was, again, Travis d'Arnaud. And my question, and I know that they made some roster moves, and we'll talk about that in segment 2, but my question is, why is Campero on a team that's trying to compete, right?
Mike, they're obviously very competitive. That's what Perry said. They're obviously very competitive.
It seems so silly not to have somebody like a Matthew Lugo up there.
Yeah.
It seems silly not to have his bat in this lineup. And I get that Gustavo is a great base runner, or at least has that reputation, and is somebody that is kind of a tool in your tool belt. But John, he has made a lot of key mistakes at big times.
Right.
Doesn't seem super confident in right field. Then they move him to center field on Sunday because they removed some players. Teodosio got pinch hit for. It just feels like they're saying one thing and they're doing another. And that, I think, is what all fans feel. And I agree with them, because if you're going to try to compete, Campero does not need to be starting, and he does not need to be in the lineup. And the guy he looks like he's way in over his head. Does he not?
No, I'm with you. And you're right. It's saying one thing and doing another. And that's been the story of the season, Mike. And especially at the trade deadline, we're going to compete. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. If you wanted to keep this core together, then you needed to make moves to be more competitive. Everybody else got better. And I don't mean to, dwell on the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to reiterate your point that don't do as I say. That's what it feels like with the Angels is, do as I say, not as I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's been all season long. And you're right about Matthew Lugo or even Kyron Paris. The one thing that I would have said if Soler was still on the team and he wasn't hurt is, well, you have Campero up there because you want Matthew Lugo and Kyron Paris to get everyday reps down in the minor leagues. That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
But Solaire's been out of this lineup because he's on the IL, and Campero has been starting pretty much every day. Mike even started at DH the other night. And so if that's the way they're going to go, then I don't see any excuse to not have Matthew Lugo or Kyron Paris on this team. And even if you didn't want Matthew Lugo in the outfield before Trout got back, you could have DH'd him Friday, Saturday, right? And so that doesn't make much sense to me at all. The second takeaway here, Tyler Anderson's stat line looks good if you don't look too closely. Here's what it looks like. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. But a closer look is going to tell you that this start wasn't as good as the stat line says. And here's why. First, after the Halos leave the bases loaded in the first and don't score, he allows 2 solo home runs to Andrew Benintendi and Edmundo Sosa in the second. Doesn't hold the Sox down after a horrible first inning, right? And then he did it again later. Second, after the Halos got 2 runs back in the bottom of the 5th, he allows another solo home run, this time to Colson Montgomery in the top of the 6th. By the way, pause the show. I got to go pick up Colson Montgomery in my face.
He's good.
I picked him up when he got called up, and he didn't get rolling until about 2 weeks ago. Tyler Anderson has gone 18 straight starts without a win, hasn't won since May, meaning he hasn't gotten a winning decision.
Yeah.
He's got a 5.03 ERA over those 18 starts. And it's key moments like this that keep him from winning games. And here's what he had to say after the record. Of course, I'm going to paraphrase here. I sound like a broken record. It's the same crap for 15 starts, so I don't really have anything here. Good pitches, not good results. Bad pitches, not good results. Just not doing the job in general. So at least he's aware of it, I suppose. And so then what are you going to do to change it, my friend? Because something's got to give, right, Mike?
Second half, Tyler Anderson is here, right? Like, this is the guy that he's been 3 years with the Angels.
Yeah.
And the fact that we didn't capitalize on Tyler Anderson and doing something with him is silly, right? And
right.
I mean, you have this arm that you could have sent off and you could have gotten some pieces back, but he's
the Cubs traded for Michael Soroka.
And
I know Soroka's got a much more lively fastball. It throws a lot harder. And so that's what teams want out of a starter that they're just going to, have for a few months. But I mean, look, like Tyler Anderson's certainly been better and more reliable than him, and he got moved.
Yeah.
So it boggles my mind.
Yeah. Third takeaway, Johnny, and I don't mean this as a shot, but Joe Adell looks back to his old self. He was really struggling this weekend. He's not hitting. 0 for 4 with 2 Ks in Friday's game, 0 for 3 with 2 Ks on Saturday, and 0 for 4 with 2 Ks on Sunday, batting 143 in his last 15 games with a 4.36 OPS. Ouch. Hitting the ball on the ground a lot more often than he did to start the season. My question to you, are you worried?
No, I looked into it, and I'll have a segment on this for a show later this week of just what he's doing wrong. And I'll give you the, too long didn't read. It's swing decisions, and it's what he's making contact with that's leading to really bad contact. And so, obviously there's some swing and miss down the middle. There's that sort of thing. But it's, to me, Mike, it's a lot of late swing decisions. It's a lot of like lateness on his swing, a slow swing. And he's got one of the better bat speeds in the league. So stay tuned for that, because I'm going to do a little bit more of a deep dive on what's going on with him. But unfortunate that he wasn't able to have a good weekend, because I think that would have changed the trajectory of a lot of these games.
Yeah. Fourth takeaway was, it was difficult to watch Edgar Caro behind the plate. He was great.
Yeah.
He was great. And it was heartbreaking as well. He's quick behind the plate, although he does have a -5 defensive run save. So his metrics aren't fantastic, but he does have 4 pickoffs, being the catcher behind the plate. He's got great hands when he's at the plate hitting. It was nice to see him play, and it was a bit of a bummer that it was not for us and it was for another team.
Yeah. Now the fifth takeaway, this is what we were afraid of. Like, the Angels are supposed to beat teams like the White Sox, and because they should beat the White Sox, we expected them not to, right? That's what we expected coming into this weekend. Now, having said that, they had one of the best records, and I believe after beating us twice, they have one of the best records in baseball since the All-Star break. Yeah. And look, this is not the White Sox team that they faced on week 1. And I don't know if this got, hammered over people's heads on the broadcast, but the truth is this, is you've got Colson Montgomery. They've called up a lot of people. Obviously, Edgar Caro. This is a very different team than the Angels played in that first 3-game set to start the season. And they've been good. They've been rolling along. They kept the outfielder, blanking on the name because, of course, we're doing
Luis
it right
Robert.
Yes, Luis Robert. I kept wanting to say Luis Garcia Jr. I'm like, no, that's not him. Luis Robert. They kept him. They made a good move in trading Adrian Hauser, who they picked up from waivers and signed him and had him start the same night, right? Who, ironically enough, we're facing tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays. So more White Sox pitching, I guess you could say. But the Angels just haven't been able to rise to the occasion. And sometimes we wonder, do they know how to rise to the occasion? They missed an opportunity to win this game after Shane Smith got into trouble in the first. They don't score. They have that blunder with the bases loaded before. And so this is why this team will always be in it, but they won't win it, right? It's stuff like this where you have to rise to the occasion. You have to rise with that momentum coming out of, winning that Texas series and the support that the fans gave you on Wednesday. And here we are in meaningful games, quote unquote. Remember,
competitive games. Yeah.
I said this before the trade deadline is they have forced themselves into quote unquote meaningful games, meaning you better freaking win these games.
Yeah.
And they're 1-2 in these meaningful games. Obviously, Trout not being in the picture the first 2 nights was it to their detriment. And we'll talk about how much it was to their detriment and some of the things that they did throughout the weekend to fix this issue. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, the Angels salvaged the weekend with a win on Sunday, but there was one thing we noticed about Trout that we've got to share, and that's coming up in our third segment, and we'll get to that coming right up.
Hey, it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavors of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or you're just making memories with friends, this is a hole-in-one for your energy game. And honestly, some days you just need a bit of an extra boost, and that's why you need 5-Hour Energy Transfusion, especially if you're on the links. Golf is about a good time with good people and good friends, and you need good flavors like the grape ginger lime flavor. It's the best part about going and getting a drink. You don't have to rush to the clubhouse, don't have to chase down the bev cart. You can just make it yourself, do it yourself, buy it yourself, and you can get that at 5hourenergy.com today. And you can use our promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th, so get on it, and the order cannot be used with other promotions. The code's not good on subscription orders, so be aware of that. Whether you're meeting up with friends or you're trying to turn 18 holes into 36 holes, get the energizing boost that you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today at the number 5energy.com today.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're continuing our takeaways, everything you need to know, the important stuff you need to know from this weekend series against the Chicago White Sox at home at the Big A. Saturday's game, Michael. Do we have to relive this?
Gross.
The Angels lost 1-0 and got just one hit. The last one-hit shutout at home was 2006 against the White Sox, and it was Freddie Garcia on the mound.
Yeah.
But let's get into the takeaways from this Saturday game. Bryce Teodosio was called up to make room. The Angels released Lamont Wade Jr. Sam Blum tweeted, the plan is to play Bryce Teodosio in essentially an everyday role right now, per Ray Montgomery. His defense in center is a big improvement over Joe Adell, and that'll move him over to right field. Teodosio had a 126 weighted runs created plus in AAA. So he's 26% better than the league average of AAA. And that's key because it's AAA, not the majors. And so we'll get into that as well. Second takeaway, all the pressure is on the young talent to perform. Tell us more, Mike.
Yeah, the reason is because the vets just aren't doing what's necessary. And here's a perfect example of that. The Angels had a base runner in the bottom of the fourth, their first base runner, bottom of the fourth. It was Zach Neto's little barely hit that probably would have went foul if the third baseman hadn't scooped it up.
Also, right? I'm not confident that Neto's hit is going to stay a hit and that they're going to change that to an error later, and the Angels will be no hit.
No hit.
Technically. I'm sure that Rob Manfred's already working on that. So there we go.
So it was an infield hit, and then Shawnuel walks, and it was great. First 2 base runners. Finally, we're making something happen, right? Young guys are on base, 2 really good at bats, and then it was followed by 3 really bad at bats by 2 veterans. First, Taylor Ward watches 3 of 4 pitches in the strike zone and doesn't swing, and strikes out looking. Now I get it. Somebody's commenting and going, "Yeah, but he set a record in home runs, personal record, and RBIs, and he hit a home run Sunday." I get it. But these are the moments that we need Taylor Ward to be a veteran.
Right.
I need him to just swing the freaking bat in that moment.
Right.
Why aren't you swinging the bat? You had 3 pitches in the strike zone. 1 was not in the strike zone. You watched all of them. It was a strike, ball, strike, strike.
Yeah.
You watched all of them. Then Joe Adell comes up, and I get it. Joe Adell has a great batting average on the first pitch. So he lines the first pitch to short, broke his bat. You just, that one of those things where it's like, hey, you took a shot, right?
Right.
Then Moncada comes up, and he strikes out. You have Neto and you have Shawnuel finally giving you some momentum. The crowd is finally in the game. And then your veterans, 2 big guys that you brought in that you need to have come through, Ward specifically, they don't come through in that moment. And that's so frustrating to watch. It's so bothersome for me, John, because these are the moments that we need them to at least swing the bat and make contact.
Yeah.
And Taylor Ward didn't do any of that in this at bat.
Yeah. And this goes back a couple of years ago with conversations that we would have about Shohei Ohtani. We would have these conversations about Mike Trout. We're still kind of having these conversations about Mike Trout. Like, we need people to deliver in those key moments. I know that, the Angels would probably have lost, 18 in a row in 2022 had it not been for Shohei Ohtani on the mound and doing everything that he does. But there were moments where, maybe he had 9 RBIs in the game and we just needed him to get 1 more at the end of the game, right? And, you're disappointed in that. Like, it's okay to be disappointed and to go, guys, can't you come through in this moment? And the same conversation applies to Mike Trout, and it applies to Taylor Ward, especially when you're looking at 3 pitches right there in the strike zone. When are you going to swing?
Yeah.
Are you going to swing at all? Are you going to push the A button? Are you going to lay a bunt down? What are you going to like? Yeah. Were you ever going to swing? I just don't understand some of the logic there sometimes. And that's what's frustrating is, yes, like you said, career high home runs, 80 RBI, fantastic. He's the reason why they won on Sunday. And we're going to celebrate that. And we're going to enjoy that. But in this moment, when you're being 1 hit, and this was early on in the game in the 4th, but still, like, I just don't know what he's looking for up there sometimes, Mike. And that's the problem with a guess hitter. I'm going to guess on which pitch to swing at. And if I guess right, I'm going to hit it out and walk it off on Sunday afternoon. And if I guess wrong, I'm either going to watch strike 3 looking, or I'm going to chase strike 3 out of the zone. And that's what's really that's what's really frustrating when it comes to these veterans. Speaking of the veterans, our third takeaway in this game, Kyle Hendricks did his job.
He did.
He went through the order twice, was removed before the 3rd time through the order, got the Angels 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts with 73 pitches thrown, was able to get 2 double plays behind him. He hit his spots. It was the classic Kyle Hendricks start. And he has this tendency to cruise and then fall apart. And with the way the Halos were hitting, every run felt important and could be the reason why he was pulled. So was this a game, Mike, do you think that he should have at least pitched in the 6th inning? What do you say?
I think the decision to yank him was a good decision, and here's why. Because he does fall apart in the snap of a finger, right?
Yeah, and it's quick.
And it's been quick. And so I think because it was only 1-0, I think that move was a smart move because your offense was not coming through. Your offense wasn't having good at-bats. And I wouldn't want to go down 2-0. I wouldn't want to go down 3-0. And Kyle Hendricks has had those games. 4 innings, cruising. 5th inning hits, boom, you're down 5-1, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so that's why I thought this decision on Saturday night was actually a really good decision. And Kyle Hendricks, high five to him when we talk about the veterans needing to step up. He stepped up on Saturday night. He stepped up and did his job, but the Angels bats just couldn't, which is the 4th takeaway. They just couldn't hit, John. 7 of the 9 innings, they went 1, 2, 3 in
Ugh.
those innings. In 2 of those innings, they got a base hit, and they had just 1 hit and 2 walks. Or they got on base, not just a base hit. They got on base, had 2 hits, or one hit and 2 walks. I'm even struggling with talking here. They had a lot of chases. There was a lot of swings and misses. There was 9 total strikeouts in this game. John, the White Sox pitchers retired 15, the last 15 in a row. That's not good for our Angel hitters.
Well, and there were so many things that were like, I think about Nolan Schanuel hitting one in the air, and it's like, there's good contact happening. There's good, a good sound off the bat. And these guys are just trying to find that hole in the outfield, and they couldn't find it. And it was just like a magnet right to the White Sox gloves, some lineouts to short and things like that. Like, it's just frustrating in those moments.
And these are moments, John, and I get it. Like, I know people were frustrated with Artie and frustrated with Perry, and then they were frustrated with, they said, you got to blame the players. The players just didn't come through. And I 100% agree. This is on the players. I also got really frustrated with Ray Montgomery because every inning was swing, miss, pop up, ground out, right? Like, I would be telling my guys, hey, wherever they're playing, if they're shading you a little bit, let's do a bunt.
Show bunt, right?
Like, at least show a bunt, right? Like, because you need to move some pieces around, or maybe crouch the plate a little bit more and try to get hit, because obviously you can't hit Aaron Savali. Good grief. This guy who didn't want to be in Milwaukee and now he's in Chicago, right? Like, you can't hit this guy. You can't.
Who we probably could have traded for and put him in our rotation instead, right? We could have easily had Aaron Savali for some sort of, mid-level prospect.
He would have gone 3 2/3, gave up 8 hits and 9 runs.
Because he's on our team.
Because he's on our team, right?
Exactly.
But that's the thing. It just felt like there was no coaching happening at all. And if there was coaching happening, their approaches were the same. Everybody's approach was exactly the same. Yeah. And it was just a frustrating offensive game. Yeah. It was. I was offended by the offense in this game. It was just bad, really bad.
Final takeaway was the bullpen, Mike, was really good. It was a combination of Ryan Zefferjon, Brock Burke, Detmers, and Carson Fulmer, who came in to finish out 4 innings. They gave up just 2 hits, walked 1. They struck out 5. That's everything you could have asked for. And far be it for me to forget to mention how great Andrew Chafin was on Friday night. Mm-hmm. And we've been clamoring to have him on our team 3 years ago. I don't know that I necessarily would have said, get Andrew Chafin in the offseason, but he's somebody I've wanted on our team for a long time. And of course he came in on Sunday and did the job as well. So credit to the bullpen, credit to just, you have the fact that you have Luis Garcia and Andrew Chafin in this pen now. I think it opens up so many more options, Mike. Mm-hmm. And so to see Zefferjon, Burke, Detmers, Fulmer finish out that game, obviously you go to Fulmer because you're down, 1-0.
Yeah.
And you're trying to come back in the 9th, and it didn't end up the way that you would want it to. It is nice that they have those veteran options. I know this trade deadline was farts to, put the official term on it. But the fact is that the bullpen needed to be addressed, and to add veteran presences needed to be addressed. And they did that because you and I have been, saying like, hey, Zefferjon struggles sometimes. You're putting him in big moments. Sam Bachman, who, was optioned to make room for Andrew Chafin and Luis Garcia. He was put into moments that he just doesn't seem to be ready for yet. So just to see the bullpen be really good at the end of this game was encouraging. Hopefully they have more of that in the tank as the season moves forward.
Hey, we're in the middle of the summer. It's in full swing. So whether you're about baseball under the lights or golf on the green or maybe high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every moment more and more exciting. And you're already following the action, so why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are maybe getting sunburned at the beach. You can win some money, and then you can wave it in front of their face. That is what FanDuel can help you do. And they're going to help you track all your favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh every day with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use. You get fast payouts. And because regular season games can sometimes be long and boring, FanDuel makes them must-watch events. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay or you're watching your bet right into the 9th inning, use FanDuel to get in on all of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the app right now or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started.
Sunday's game was a win, and it
Mhm.
was a long-awaited win because the Angels at this point had dropped 3 in a row, one to Texas on Wednesday, the first 2 on Friday and Saturday. They're obviously very competitive in the words of Perry Manassian. That's going to be our new, we didn't think that far ahead, right?
Yep.
I know Gavin is loving that line of, we're obviously very competitive. The word obviously is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. But the first takeaway, Mike, here, as the Angels win 8-5, the offense came alive late. Finally,
Right.
They had 2 hits, no runs through 5, and they trailed by 5 in the 6th inning. 3 hits, 3 runs, including a Zach Neto home run. In the 7th inning, 3 hits and 2 runs, including a Zach Neto 2-run double.
Mhm.
And in the 9th inning, 2 hits and 3 runs, topped off by a Taylor Ward 3-run home run to walk it off and win the game. That was fantastic to see because this was, it was like, where was this all weekend, right?
Yeah.
Like, where was this? And so the fact that they were able to overcome that early 5-0 deficit. I mean, I was late getting to the game, and I was at work, and so I put it on my phone, and it was already 4-0 when I loaded up the DirecTV app, right?
Great.
I was like, oh, great. Yeah, that's not good. Great. Wonderful. Right. Yeah. So great to see them put on the offense late in the game. Zach Neto clutching up. I was even texting with a friend who is not an Angel fan. He was watching the game somewhere. It was just on TV. And he said, does Neto drive him in? And I said, Neto's going to K. And then he hits a 2-run double. I said, reverse jinx. So yeah, I'm just going to roll with that. That's what I'm going to roll with. But it was great to see him come through in that moment. And finally, these guys get some offense. And Taylor Ward guesses right and hits a 3-run home run out of the park over the bullpen. So that was fantastic to see. Second takeaway, Mike, tell me about this one. Facing Jack Kohanowitz is like stepping into a batting cage. What's up with that?
You know what's coming, right? Everything that Jack threw yesterday was so hittable, especially early on. Wasn't fooling anybody. And in the first inning, he threw the sinker, the 4-seam, and the change, and he was getting hit really hard. In fact, he threw his sinker the most, John, and this pitch was left up, either middle or up.
Couldn't get it down.
He could not locate it at all. And the White Sox, they were right on it. In fact, there were a couple of 1 pitch, 1 hit at bats in the first couple of innings against Kohanowitz because the sinker was a meatball pitch. Again, it felt like the batting cages. It felt like batting practice, right? Now, he did adjust later, and he started throwing his slider and his sweeper, and that helped him to be a bit more consistent. He did go 6, but that number again is deceptive because it was not a good start. Now, it was the first time that he's gone that deep in a game since May, and that's the Jack Kohanowitz that we all came to know and love last year. But what got him into trouble, John, was bad location and a lot of walks, and he was just getting everything hit. And it's interesting because when he went to the minor leagues, he just threw 3 pitches.
Yeah.
And in this game, he went back to the 4-seam. He was throwing the change and the sinker, but he added the slider and the sweeper, and that kept the hitters a bit more off balance as the game went on. So high five to d'Arnaud and Kohanowitz for adjusting, but it's the first couple of innings for Kohanowitz. You know how he's going to be based off of what happens in those innings, and he was not good early on yesterday.
Have you ever noticed his delivery, Mike? Like he doesn't, he doesn't wind up or anything like that. It's just very explosive. I have a feeling it's not very repeatable. And I have a feeling just watching him that the mechanics, one little thing is off and that sinker's going to be up in the zone. Right. And so if you guys go back and watch him throw, tell me if I'm wrong, but to me, it seems like I'm not sure his mechanics are so repeatable, and maybe that's why everything's been so inconsistent. Right. And when you're not repeating everything to a T, you're going to leave some stuff up in the zone. And so then you turn to a slider and a sweeper to, just give those guys a different look. And you might not be putting them where you want to put them, but at least it's not going to be right over the heart of the plate. If it's a sweeper, right, it's going to drop out of the zone to the hitter. But I think about the way that he throws that baseball, and it was just, I don't know. It was like a glaring thing to me yesterday where it just felt like you know what? I don't know if that's quite repeatable, and it makes sense why he's not releasing it where he wants to. That's why the stuff is up. The release point is inconsistent. The stride and all of that stuff just felt very inconsistent to me. But there's good news. Christian Moore was back on Sunday, and they certainly needed it. I tweeted from Locked On Angels. I said they need his clutch gene in the lineup.
Yeah.
I don't care what his batting average is. They need his clutch gene. And so that was huge. And he had a big part to play in Sunday's game. He was able to get a couple of hits, get on base, and
score some great defense.
Played some great defense. Oh, man. There was a moment where he did that glove flip over to Neto.
Yep.
And I was just like, ooh, this is our new Howie and Ivar.
Welcome back.
And I think I love this. Yeah. The big question here is, Mike, is how are they going to manage Moncada, Moore, and Rengifo? What did Ray Montgomery have to say?
He said that they're going to manage them this way, 3 for 2. He said basically what that means is that we're going to have Rengifo occasionally be in the outfield so that we can have all of their bats in the lineup. Now, I know that Rengifo has probably been the best hitter out of all of those guys, according to the numbers. Since June 13th, he's hitting .285 with a .758 OPS. Now, Moore was 5 for 11 in 4 rehab games at Class A Inland Empire, and he's hitting .189 entering yesterday's game with an almost 700 OPS. And then Moncada was just not good this weekend, and he's hitting just .214, but he does have a .749 OPS as well, and that's because he's walking a lot and drawing a lot of pitches. So that's good news. So if they can have these guys in the lineup, I think that would be beneficial. I would rather see a Rengifo in the outfield than a Gustavo Campero.
Yeah. Well, I'd also like to see Moncada and his bat in the lineup. He was able to come through on Sunday. That was important, but you're right. The walks, remember there was a time where he was the only one taking walks, and it was frustrating. So good to see Moncada in there. The fourth takeaway, Mike Trout keeps striking out. He was back in the lineup on Sunday. He was ill. He's striking out at almost exactly 30% of the time this season, 107 times in 361 plate appearances. His career strikeout rate is 22.9. He's struck out in 27 of his 62 plate appearances since the All-Star break. Mike, that's a 43.5 strikeout rate. In 15 of his last 27 plate appearances, he's gone. It's been a 55.6% strikeout rate. Yet the White Sox, they walked him intentionally on Sunday. Twice, 2 times. So How about the good vibes and the competitive games and the meaningful baseball, Mike? What do you say?
This is what we expected from this weekend. We knew that it would be a letdown, and that's exactly what happened. When the Angels play good teams, they play really well. And when Perry says competitive, I'm now realizing what he means, that we're in it. That's what he means. Not winning, not trying to get to the playoff. We're in it. These are, and the truth is he's not wrong. They're in games, but I don't want to watch a team be in a game, had a lot of fight, right?
Yeah.
I'm just tired of a lot of fight.
Yeah.
And
so is Logan O'Hoppe.
You know what? They didn't sell. They should have given those pieces away. If they're going to build around this young core, Taylor Ward's not part of that young core. Right. And so if you're going to build around the young core, you should have made those decisions. They didn't. And now we're in this situation where you can't beat the White Sox. You lose a series to the White Sox. I know that they've been good since the All-Star break. Doesn't matter. Right.
Yeah.
You have to beat teams like this, and you didn't. And those good vibes are not going to carry you very far.
Can I just say, before there's a bozo in the comments who says, well, Johnson, the loser with the hat, said that these are meaningful baseball games. No, that's why I'm throwing quotes around the idea that these are meaningful games. These are competitive games because the Angels gave themselves no choice but to be competitive. And if they are or they aren't, that's a different conversation. But these games matter. These games are meaningful. And that's on them. It's not on the fans. It's not on the players. It's on the front office for forcing the issue, for forcing the hand. And so it's like, you better freaking win some games now because you decided that this was meaningful baseball that you wanted to play. And if you don't deliver and you have series like this in the White Sox series, then the meaningfulness, all of those competitive vibes that you think you have, it's all going to go out the window, and you're going to lose fans and you're going to lose your players by making them play meaningful baseball games if you can't step up and deliver.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Angels on YouTube so you don't miss all of this great Halo content, including the postcast with Gavin Carlson. He's live after every game, and you're going to check him out on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels. Connect with Mike and I at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube. Get in the conversation by getting into the comment section for today's show. Mike, what do we have on deck for Tuesday's show?
Well, how much did Artie play into the trade deadline for the Halos? Perry actually shared, and we're going to share that with you tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
We just, we like his makeup. We just think he adds a lot to the clubhouse. Oh, he's not going to say that.
It's a good powder. It's a good Clinique.
Yeah, exactly. All right, friends. We hope you'll come back and join us for that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
How much did Artie play? He played a huge role, right?
He played the hits. That's what he did.